Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. EVH asks, why is this watch so hyped? Double question mark. Well, it's an interesting question, and I think one reason is the fact that Hodinkee featured this watch in an article, and it put the watch on the radar of many watch enthusiasts that otherwise wouldn't have been interested in a pretty moderately priced quartz Timex watch. I think that's one reason, and I think that is related to the second reason, and that's that Timex couldn't keep it in stock. Now, when this watch was released, it sold out insanely fast, and for months upon months after that, you couldn't get the watch. Now, you could find it on eBay and you could find it on Chrono24, but people were charging 2 and 3 times the retail price for it, and I don't know if people were paying that kind of premium for it, but people were trying to charge that kind of premium for it, and that kind of gave it that air of desirability. And it's much like what's going on with the steel sports model Rolexes, and the lack of them being able to fill demand sort of is increasing demand, and it's this vicious cycle. And when they did finally come back into stock, I think many people that otherwise wouldn't have been interested in them if they had been readily available from the get-go decided to pick one up. And I think I'm like that, and I'm not sure that Mark Goldberg would have picked up 2 if there hadn't been a months-long Timex Q drought. So I think that's another reason. And one other reason is the aesthetics, and that's what I want to talk about today. It's a beautiful watch, and it's got some vintagey things going on. And one of the reasons it's so beautiful is it takes many design cues from Rolex, and I want to focus on those design cues today. Let's jump in and work our way out from the center of the dial and talk about these design cues. Now, this is based on a model that apparently came out in 1978, and I've never actually been able to find a picture of it. But assuming it did, and assuming it looked like this, then it clearly took some major design cues from the GMT line. And let's start by looking at the handset. Well, the minute hand is pretty much identical to a pre-ceramic GMT or a sub. Many of the professional model Rolexes. As far as the hour hand goes, it's very, very similar. Of course, you don't have that Mercedes-esque symbol in the middle, but aside from that, the handset looks incredibly similar to say a GMT 16710, for example, like I have. All right, the second hand's a little bit different. We'll come back to that, though. Let's look at the dial. Well, it's got a equilateral triangle here at the 12. Now, Rolex has a triangle, but the bottom part is stretched out a little bit. Now, it's got circular surrounds that are about the same size as are found on the GMT. At the 6 and the 9, just like a GMT, you have a rectangular-esque shape. Now, you'll find rectangles on the Rolex models, but this is actually a 5-sided shape. It's got like a little point up here. Looks like the roof of a house. So it's a little bit different there. Now, one of the reasons that this looks so vintage is because it looks like the surrounds that are found on 4-digit models. Things like a 1680 sub or a 1675 GMT. And there would be plots of tritium, but without the gold surrounds that the more modern subs and GMTs have. And if you were to find one of those watches today, then that tritium would be turning a nice brown patina, much like the color here. And so, are we looking at fake patina? I think the case could be made that that is the case, but it's attractive and it does give it that vintage look. All right, now, if you look at the bezel, it's clearly GMT. It's bicolored. You've got red and blue here, and the division of the numerals are much like that of a GMT bezel. Now, one difference is you've got rectangles here, whereas on a GMT, in between the numerals, you would have circles, okay? And it's interesting because this is darker than a Pepsi, okay? And to you, it probably looks a little bit black right now, but it's clearly, if I hold it up, it's clearly blue, all right? So I think we've got a Pepsi color scheme going on, but because it's a darker shade of blue, it sort of splits the difference, and in certain circumstances and situations and lighting, it actually looks like a Coke, and that blue matches the blue of the dial, which is kind of nice. All right, now this is a three-handed watch, whereas a GMT is a four-hander, and the fourth hand is a 24-hour hand, and it's red, and you get the red, but it's on the second hand here, and the red matches the red on the bezel, just like the 24-hour hand red matches the red on the GMT bezel. And of course, they're both able to track another time zone. This is a poor man's GMT, and it works pretty damn well, I gotta say. So that's pretty much where I think the similarities to the GMT Rolex stop. But what about the case? I mean, is the case pretty much unique? Well, the case is very much like a Rolex oyster quartz. Now, you should be Googling a Rolex oyster quartz, and you will see that the case is almost identical to that of an oyster quartz from the side and definitely from the top. And that's kind of fitting because the Q Timex is a quartz watch, and there's only one quartz Rolex, and that's the oyster quartz. And so the fact that they share almost an identical case shape seems to be fitting for a quartz watch. And as far as the bracelet goes, well, I think I might be stretching it a bit, but this is let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Okay, this is divided into 7 places, whereas the oyster quartz, I want to say it's a dedicated bracelet, integrated bracelet, and it's not 7, it's 5, and it's somewhat similar. The oyster quartz bracelet is bigger, okay, bigger. These are very, very thin. I might be stretching it there a bit. I'm going to say that I think the similarities to the oyster quartz maybe stop at the case, but if you do see the bracelet on the oyster quartz, it looks like a 5-section thicker version of this. Okay, but again, I might be stretching it a bit. But anyway, these are some visual elements I've noticed about this watch. I think it contributes to how good looking a watch it is. And let me know what you think. Take care. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.